All right, y'all. Shalom, shalom, shalom. Shalom is Michael Israel. You are watching Spiritual Combat. We are coming at you. We have a great show for you today, and this is gonna be good. If you struggling, if with changing and growth and development, this show, this particular episode of Spiritual Combat might help you get unstuck if you stuck. The title is What You Feed Grows. And what we're talking about is whatever you focus on, whatever you put your attention on is gonna grow. Okay. Whether for the good or for the bad. And what I'm gonna do, we're gonna go through a bunch of different Bible scriptures showing you that this is the fact. And I'm going to show you where you need to put your attention at in order to be a person who grows and develops in a righteous way. Okay? That last part, okay? Don't miss that last part. Grows and develops in a righteous way, okay? So when it comes the most, I would say one of the most obvious places where you see this concept being exercised, that pun intended, is when it comes to fitness. Okay, if you consistently go to the gym, if you feed your body with weights and exercise, you're going to grow. You're going to grow. You're going to develop muscles and everything like that. If you put your attention there and you feed that area of your life, fitness, and you stay consistent with that, you're going to see growth and development. What's the caveat to that, though? The thing is, you're going to see that growth and development over time, because what? Consistency compounds, it builds up. Okay. And that's the key to any growth. You know, you put a seed in the ground, it doesn't just pop up instantly. You water it, and they talk about seed time and harvest. That over time it grows. Okay. And the other thing you need to keep in mind with growth is you don't have to, the growth is going to happen as long as you put forth the effort. Okay. The growth is going to happen. Okay. So if you go to the gym and you consistently lift the weights, the growth will take care of itself. You can't, it's going to automatically happen. It's like a math equation. You know what I'm saying? The growth is going to happen. Okay. So health and fitness, you know what I'm saying? That's an area. Diet and health. Let's get into diet. This is another place where you see what you feed grows. You see some people where their focus is at is they focus on the opposite of the gym. Okay, they don't focus on health, or they focus. So if you're not focusing on health, what are you focusing on? If you're not focusing on health, because this is another key concept to what we're talking about. If you're not, you're always focused on something, whether you consciously are aware of it. Like me, for instance, me and my family, we go to the gym 3 times a week. Okay. And we're consciously locked in and focused on that. We know we got to get up. We got to be up out of bed by 6:30 and be on our way to the gym by 7 every morning. I mean, not every morning, every other morning. So 3 times a week. But No matter what, you are always feeding something, and something is always growing, whether it's for the positive or the negative. So if you're not going to the gym and you're not being mindful of your diet, what are you doing? You're feeding unhealth. You're feeding a lack of fitness, and it's gonna grow. You see what I'm saying? So no matter what, you're feeding something. Now we just going through this slow and we're breaking it down on the physical right now. But what you feed grows. Remember that. Okay? And you have to work your salvation out with fear and trembling. Okay? You have to work your own salvation out. So you have to be aware of what you're feeding in all aspects of your life, whether it's spiritual, whether it's physical, whether it's social, whether it's mental, you name it. You have to be aware of what you are feeding. Okay. Okay. So consistent diet impacts your health. These key words, what you're feeding, consistency, and compound. And you have to have a commitment to consistency to have life and have it more abundantly. Let me know if that makes sense. All right. What you feed grows. So, on the mental level, your thoughts, the thoughts you dwell on become stronger. So, whatever thoughts you dwell on are going to become stronger. Man, I remember back when I was like 25. No. Yeah, I was right around 25 and I had turned 26. And this is when I began to wake up. I had my initial awakening, and I realized there was some stuff I had to work on. And what triggered it is I went through a painful breakup, okay, with a woman. And luckily, I wasn't too invested in it emotionally. It was over the course, I guess, like 6 months or whatever. But it still hurt nonetheless. And I got a taste of what heartbreak feels like. And it's the worst pain because it's not like you break your ankle, because I've broken my ankle. I've been cut before, had just all types of stuff. But that pain you could kind of escape from. It was different, but the pain of heartbreak is just it's inside, it's deep, it's everywhere. You know what I'm saying? And it's not like just like any regular physical pain, it's another type of pain. But what I found is that if I consciously and purposefully, like anytime those negative thoughts would come up, if I paid attention to the thoughts, and what I would do is read stuff that directly countered the thoughts that were coming up or that explain why this situation happened and why I went through this pain. And I noticed if I controlled what was going, I controlled what was going through my brain by what? Studying certain things. What ended up happening is I ended up growing mentally stronger in these areas. Why? Because I got understanding about the situation and how and why I went through it. And it goes right back to this key concept. I was feeding my mind the correct stuff, and I wasn't, and I was consuming it, and I was not consuming the stuff that my own mind was trying to, and that Satan was trying to submit to my mind. I wasn't consuming. I was drowning it out and feeding it with good food. Even though it was like a buffet and it was unhealthy stuff there, I made a choice, conscious choice, to feed myself with righteous food. Okay. As righteous as it could be back in those days, because I wasn't fully into the word and everything like that back then. Okay. But the thoughts you dwell on become stronger. Period. whether good or bad. And again, you have to make a conscious effort to make sure you're dwelling on the right types of thoughts. Okay. So yeah. And if you're not making a conscious effort to dwell on righteous thoughts, guess what you're dwelling on? Take a guess. Negative thoughts. Okay. Is negative. So, and that's going to grow. And like I said, when I went through that situation, that breakup, man, negative thoughts were trying to come in, but I drowned them out with positive thoughts. I was studying stuff about relationships and looking at the mistakes I made. And lo and behold, over time, again, time, consistency, it compounded and it drowned out those negative thoughts, and they never turned into beliefs, and I became stronger in how I was operating. You know what I'm saying? Y'all put a 100 up in there if that makes sense. Put makes sense if it makes sense. All right? What you feed grows, okay? Behaviors and character, okay? What you feed grows. Repeated actions shape your character, okay? Repeated actions. What does it say? Faith without works is dead. It's about action. Okay? What you do is going to shape you. It's going to take hold. It's going to become ingrained in your mind. It could become ingrained in your body, in your flesh, whether positive or negative. Thing that comes to mind is lust and sexual sin. That's one of the things that comes into mind when we talk about that. What you feed grows, okay? Galatians chapter 6, verse 7 says, be not deceived. God is not mocked. For whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he reap it. It's the same concept. What you feed grows. What you water is going to grow. And it is your job, the process of working your salvation out with fear and trembling is your job to be aware of what you're feeding. And a lot of people, I'm gonna give you a good one. A lot of people are feeding and sowing distraction. And y'all might be like, well, what do you mean? When you look at a lot of this social media, a lot of short form content, and if you just mindlessly scroll through that stuff without a purpose, you are feeding distraction. You are feeding inattention. You don't in focusing on that, you are literally growing the muscle of distraction, and you're becoming an individual who has to be stimulated in order to pay attention to anything. And this is, again, I talk about the attention economy. The hottest commodity is your attention. Okay. And everything is vying for it. Your phone, the internet, everything is grabbing for your attention. The algorithms that they build into these social media platforms are just trying to grab your attention so that you can feed it. You can feed distraction, and you can be a chronically distracted individual. What you feed grows. Does that make sense? So in this current day and age we live in, it is critical that you become acutely aware of what you are feeding. You have to, in this day and age that we live in, you have to be in purpose, on purpose, or you just going to be led astray. You're going to be a rudderless ship out on the ocean of life. Okay? If you want to see what I'm talking about, and when the storms come, guess what's going to happen to your ship? You're a rudderless ship in a storm at sea. Don't take my word on it. Go watch some of those videos of those ships in the storms at sea with that song that goes yo. Look at what happens to them. You have to feed your attention, and we're going to get into how to do that here soon. And let's talk about another one: self-control. What you feed grows. Do you have discipline, self-discipline? That's a superpower today. Self-control grows with practice. People don't realize this. And again, I talked about having a commitment to consistency and not taking large steps. I've talked about that in past videos. You got to, if you want to change, you have to take small steps to change. Small, not large ones. If you want to change. And you have to commit to consistency. And it compounds, it grows at a huge level. But you got to take small steps so you don't burn yourself out. What you consistently invest in grows. Be mindful of what you are cultivating. Choose to strengthen the righteous things. And if you are not making a conscious choice to strengthen the righteous things, you're making an unconscious choice to strengthen the wicked things. And, you know, the word tells you, be not ignorant of a small matter or great. Like, we have to do what Proverbs says and get wisdom, and with all thy getting, get understanding. You know, life and the world and Satan don't care about your excuses of why. They don't care if you're ignorant. They play on ignorance. Okay? Let me know if that makes sense in the comments. Okay? Let me know if that's making sense. Okay? All right, let's see what else we got here. All right. So, spiritual and mental muscles, they grow stronger through deliberate effort. Okay. Here at the Straightway Studio Assembly, our assembly here, we have tenets. There's an expectation laid out here. Okay. And we go over them every almost every Shabbat, okay? But we go over them pretty often, at least at a minimum twice a month, okay? And there's a reason, because these are areas that people are severely lacking in. And what a lot of people wrestle with, and it's partially due to the deception and the deceptive doctrine of Greco-Roman Christianity, and a lot of Christianity. It's not all of it, believe it or not, but a lot of Christianity they push this doctrine where, let go and let Jesus, where, hey, that's all you got to do. There's no effort on your part. You don't have to do anything. It's just, hey, Jesus got you. And the word says different. It says faith without works is dead. The Bible tells you endure hardness as a good soldier. In Sirach, right there at the beginning, it tells you gold is tried in the fire and worthy men in the furnace of affliction. In the book of Joshua, The book of Joshua tells you, he tells you, be strong and of good courage. And you read that chapter there, and you see that the Most High said, hey, these are the blessings. I'm gonna bless you, but you're gonna have to work for it. You're gonna have to fight for it. You're gonna have to go to war for it. You see what I'm saying? And for some reason, a lot of people, they skip that, they miss that. And when you hit them with this reality, sometimes you get some pretty sad responses, and it's amazing. Like when people realize, oh, you mean I gotta work for that? You mean I gotta confront myself and go through discomfort? Yes, gold is tried in the fire, and worthy men in the furnace of affliction. So we're going to get into the nucleus of this thing that we're talking about. What you feed grows. If you want to, and look, what stimulated me to make this video was it was a video I saw where a dude was talking about this again on a physical level, on a carnal level. But I was like, oh, that's straight biblical right there. People have to learn to subject themselves to doing things that they don't want to do, but that they need to do, because that's the only place where growth happens. It don't happen nowhere else. It doesn't. And this is why, man, we see people, man, being a head of assembly over the years, man. I have seen people like stagnant like a statue. You know what I'm saying? You think a statue stands still. I can show you something that's even more anchored in place than a statue. And it's people who stagnated in their growth and development. And it's because what has happened, they have been conditioned through, because we are born in sin and shaped in iniquity. And this is all of us, everybody. You've been conditioned to gravitate, a lot of people, to different extremes. I see some people, it's on an extreme level. They have been conditioned to gravitate to what feels good, to feed their flesh. They have just spent a lifetime feeding their flesh. And what you feed, what does it do? Put it in the comments. What you feed grows. And they have just spent years doing that, and their flesh controls them. They have no control. They can only do what their thoughts, feelings, emotions, and impulses tell them to. And that's not a good way to be. We're gonna get back into the book on this thing. Check this out. Let me pull up this Bible verse. 1 Corinthians chapter 9, verse 27. But I keep under my body and bring it into subjection, lest that by any means, when I have preached to others, I myself should be a castaway. Okay, let's read that in the Amplified so y'all can comprehend, and then I'm gonna break it down, because this is exactly what we're talking about here. Okay, but I, like a boxer, I strictly discipline my body and make it my slave, so that after I have preached the gospel to others, I myself will not somehow be disqualified as unfit for service. Okay, we have to keep our flesh under control. This come when and this hits a lot of y'all, a lot of this, and that's why I'm gonna sit here and break it down, because this will go right over your head. You got to stay on top of. I'm gonna tell you what I run into. This is a telltale sign that you've been feeding your flesh too much And it's just growing into this thing that controls you. You're a slave to your flesh. Here it is. Listen, you can't follow instructions. That's the it. That's the telltale sign when you're wrestling, when you're told something and you just can't, you gotta, it's like it feels like your head's gonna explode because you gotta do it your way, or you got a buck, or you just wrestling for whatever reason, because there's a myriad of reasons why people can't follow instructions, can't carry out what they're being asked to do, what they're being told to do. There's a myriad of reasons, but it all goes back to one thing. You've been feeding that flesh. And I have seen it. You do a little bit of digging and you see where people, they're like, I just can't do it. I just can't do this. It's that, it's this. And they don't realize, hey, just like you feed your flesh, you can feed your righteousness too. You can feed the righteous side. Okay. But just like you're sitting there and you gotta watch, you're mindlessly scrolling through social media, you could begin making small steps, small, consistent, compound steps to start. Hey, you know what? I'm gonna read a verse in the Bible each day. One verse. You see what I'm saying? You could begin feeding your spirit in all these. You name it. Oh, I'm overweight and my health is bad. You could make one small change and begin feeding the healthy, feeding the healthy part. Begin growing that. Okay? But you gotta want it. And this the underlying thing probably is people just don't want it. People don't want to change. Why? Because their flesh is too comfortable. It feels good. You've been conditioned your whole life that discomfort is bad, is evil. Any type of discomfort is evil. It's bad. I'm not supposed to feel discomfort. This is why a lot of people, you rebuke them and they don't see it as anything good. It's a problem that they're getting rebuked. It's an issue. They don't know how to take it because it don't feel good. So, a good example, and going to the gym. I think we started going to the gym about a year ago, maybe something like that. And when I started going to the gym, the first couple months, I would just come in the gym, do some stretching, light stretching. I maybe ride a bike a little bit, just real, you could barely even call them workouts that I did for the first couple months. I was always done before Koya and the girls because my body was just in bad shape. You know what I'm saying? But then slowly but surely, I ramped it up more and more. You begin to build the discomfort and the pain that will come with working out and the muscle burn, begin to feel good. You begin to desire it because you know the results you're going to get. Your mind gets rewired to see the result, to where you begin to desire that. And then eventually, like now we go to the gym, it's just a thing. And we look forward to the feeling we're going to have when we leave there. We feel good. We got our workout in, started our day off right, all that stuff. So you could begin to be comfortable with the uncomfortable. It's possible. You can condition your mind to be comfortable with the uncomfortable. Because the way your mind is and your flesh, again, and we just read it here, you can make it your slave. You could get it in order to where it does what you want it to do. If that's making sense, put a 100 in here if you get that. But a lot of people, I run into so many people, they've never went there. They've never conceived this reality. And like I said, this video I watched the other day, like I knew this, but this video just put it all in the words. And now I'm breaking it down even more and booking it with the book. You see what I'm saying? But you can be content and happy and in full enjoyment, not being in your comfort zone, being in the furnace of affliction. The Bible says, endure hardness as a good soldier. You see what I'm saying? It's all through the book. All right, check this out. I got some more for y'all. All right, this is one of the reasons why faith without works is dead. So, and again, I'm telling you, man, a lot of people, they operate at the core of it. It's a spirit of fear. And a lot of people, they operate in a spirit of fear. They're timid. And, you know, they don't want to get angry. And, you know, it's like anger is not a sin. In fact, the Bible tells you to be angry, but sin not. Okay, don't be wrathful. Wrath is anger acted upon in an unrighteous way. Okay, so be angry, because anger is a necessary thing. A lot of y'all need to get sick of your own crap. The way the shape you're in, you're a shape, but you're not in shape. You know, your mental condition, your spiritual condition, whatever it is, you got to turn up and get mad and be like, yo, this junk ain't punking me. I ain't gonna die like this. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm telling you, man, at the age of 26, I looked at my condition, and I'm talking about my social relationship condition. And I was like, yo, I ain't dying like this. Like, I ain't gonna die and not have experienced marriage and have children and all this stuff. And I went to war because I was sick of that junk. I was mad. And that's a good place to be. Because now you could get things rolling. But a lot of people, man, that operate in spirits of fear, and they too timid to actually do true biblical growth and development, like put in this real book work. You know what I'm saying? What the word really says. Okay? Get in them hard hitting scriptures. Gold is tried in the fire, and worthy men in the furnace of affliction. You see what I'm saying? So you gotta show these thoughts, feelings, emotions, who the boss is. Let me see what else I got here. So I read that one to you. So this is, again, you got to look at this stuff and if you got questions, because I might not have hit, you might have areas you're blocked in. If you have questions, put them in the comments there. I'm gonna look at the comments here soon. But you might have areas you're blocked in. Okay. And okay, how do I how do I apply that? How do I feed this and grow it and not grow that? Put it in the comments, because I might not have covered it or whatever. But you gotta be, don't be one of those people who try. You got to be one of those people who transform. I got that off the video that I saw earlier. It said there are people who try, and then there are people who transform. And look, I'm gonna tell you, you know, way back when I came to Straightway, one of the things I looked at with Pastor, I was like, you know what? Look at this. I was like, he been at this again. Consistency compounds. This is what a lot of these naysayers out here they're wrestling with. I looked at one of the main things I looked at, like, look at this consistency. Like he's been doing this for years, and look at the fruit that's coming off it. And people can't make the connection because people don't know what it takes to change and to grow and to develop. I was just watching a video he put out yesterday. You know, they feel like they've reached a milestone because they bought a hay cutter thing. I felt like they reached a milestone when they bought that other piece of land and built it up, you know? And I was like, wow, look at this. I was like, this is consistency compounding. You just going through it. You're not a slave to your thoughts, feelings, and emotions. You're doing the work of Yah and you staying consistent with it over a long period of time. And that's what I seek. That's a wisdom I consciously know now that I'm embarking on. Staying consistent and just chipping away. And whatever it is you're doing, it's gonna grow. Whatever it is, whether it's spiritual, whether it's social, whether it's mental, whether it's economic, whatever it is gonna grow. But it takes, like they talk about, seed time and harvest, a commitment to consistency. What you're feeding grows. It ain't this, oh, I'm going after real hard because I'm emotional and I'm sensitive. And as soon as the emotions die off, you quit and you forget it. That ain't how it works. What you feed grows, and you have to be committed to consistency. If that makes sense, put consistent in the comments. So I know that you are receiving what's being served, what we're feeding. We're trying to feed this thing so it grows. Okay, so are you one of those people who tries, or are you one of those people who actually transforms? Write it in there. Write which one you are in there. Okay, write it in there. Okay. Again, motivation is unreliable. It's emotional. You know, because I went to there, watch motivational videos. Sometimes I like to watch one to kind of get things going, but the growth and the development happens when it's boring, when it's painful, when it's hurting, when it's just uneventful. That's where the growth and development happens. It's like I gotta go back to Pastor. You know, he was talking about how people are like, oh, you got a 4-wheeler and whatever that other little thing is. Dude, I don't know what that thing is. He got this other thing. And then you got a big truck. And it's like, bro, y'all, like, do you see the seed time? Like, I started really thinking about like, look, I've been doing this 5 years. And I'm like, it's like he's been doing it 30. Come on, y'all, make it. Come on. And I'm not like, I look at the humble beginnings, and this is what people. And in fact, I did a video last year. I came out there on the land. I said, hey, Paz, I want to do a video with you. And I said, hey, come walk around. Boom. We started at Pastor's house that he's building right now. But then we went all the way down the hill to the old trailer that he started out in. See, nobody talks about that. We came in this ministry. That ain't how we started out. But you gotta understand this key concept of growth and development in any endeavor you're trying to grow and develop in. That what you feed grows, and you have to have a commitment to consistency, because consistency compounds. And compounds means it grows, it exponentially. So it grows in a big way when you just stay consistent with a little bit over a long term. That is how growth and development happens. Growth and development doesn't happen when you just going hard. Oh, I don't feel like doing this no more. I don't care. Okay, I quit. That's emotionalism. That's the flesh. Motivation is the flesh. I think a lot of people put a lot on motivation, but it's flesh. I wrote here, the key to changing is consistency, and it relies strictly on you acting. Some people simply don't want to act. They don't want to take that. They don't want to take action. They ain't about that action. Me, I'm about that action, boss. Y'all already know. Spiritual combat. Y'all already know. It's been that. But now I'm locking in with the consistency over the long term. That's going to be the key. That's how you're going to finish this race and rank when you finish it. You know what I'm saying? Okay, let's see what else I got here. I'm getting ready to come in the comments. I'm gonna see what y'all saying. I see people in there talking. So compound effect. Small habits equal big transformations. Listen, there's a lot in that short little 4-word sentence. Listen what I'm saying. Small habits. A habit is something that becomes ingrained and you keep doing it. Equal big transformation. So if you don't have any transformation, you don't have small habits. If that makes sense, type small habits in there. Okay. Consistent steps lead to significant, long-lasting growth in any area, period. Okay? All right. Let's see what y'all saying in the comments. Let's see if this is making sense to y'all. All right. Yeah, I see. Might put facts. Let's get it built. All right. Hey, Enoch said makes sense. Okay. Okay, but what are we at least? Yeah. Let me see if y'all got any questions in here too. Okay. I might say yes, indeed. All right. I had to say I ain't saying nothing but the truth. Okay. All right. And I see y'all seeing it 100. All right. Keeping it 100. Okay. All right. And look like okay. Yep, you got to be consistent, man. You really got to like it listen y'all, any area if you want to growth if you want to grow in any area, it's like and let's add this word in, a conscious commitment to consistency compounds. Okay. All the C's. Okay. And that's right. It's about small habits, but you got to do this. You got to be thoughtful. You got to be thinking when you do this. This isn't just something you just, this isn't something you just sit there and just, oh, it's going to happen and let your feelings drive you on it. No, you got to Like, you got to think this thing out and lay it out. Okay. And like the words that make it plain. Okay. But anyway, y'all, that is the show for today. Remember, what you feed grows. And I want you to remember, whether consciously or unconsciously, you're always feeding something. Anyway, with that said, I'm Michael Israel. You're watching Spiritual Combat. Shalom, shalom.